Welcome to the Naked Coach Collective. We're not just your average coaches, we're your powerhouse of inspiration and your no-nonsense guide to unlocking your hidden potential. We are an eclectic mix of four, each with a unique journey, though we share a passion for transformation through coaching. Tune in every week for topical discussions and witty banter on all things coaching. There might be a few laughs along the way too, but don't be fooled. We're serious about helping you navigate life's twists and turns with clarity and confidence. Are you ready? Sit back, relax, and immerse yourself in the Naked Coach Collective podcast.
Okay, we're on. Right, okay. So, welcome to another episode of TNCC. Thank you for joining us today. I'm Belinda, and you all call me B. And I am doing an interview today with a fellow podcaster and fellow coach, and an absolutely fabulous, lovely lady called Gabby Mottershead. So without further ado, she's going to tell you what she's all about. I'm not going to tell you. I'm going to let her do all of that. So let's say hello to Gabby. Hi, Gabby.
Hi, Belinda. Hi, it's great to be here today. Wonders of technology.
It is, isn't it? And it's lovely to be back because about a year ago, you were interviewing me for your podcast, weren't you?
That's true. That's very true. Yeah, it's very, the tables have turned. So now, I'm on your podcast. Yeah, it's great. So my name is Gabby and I run an organisation called Confidence After Cancer. A little bit about my backstory. So for years, I worked in corporate life, corporate finance, very like a lot of people, very busy, didn't really take very much care of my health. And then at the age of 44, I was diagnosed with a very rare and aggressive type of breast cancer. I didn't even know there was different types of breast cancer at that time. I've learned so much. But 16 years ago now, and I went through my treatment, had chemo, mastectomy, radiotherapy, reconstruction. And at the end of my treatment, I couldn't wait for the treatment to finish so I could get back to my old life. But then as I was going through my treatment, I realised I did a lot of reflecting on the way that I was living, wasn't really looking after myself, never put myself first. I was always, a busy manager at work, a busy mum at home. And then I thought, maybe the stress that I was living under had something to do with me getting ill. And the more people I speak to who have had cancer, it's a common theme. Stress, we think is normal. We think it's part of life. But actually, when you take that step, I was forced to take a step off that hamster wheel to go through my treatment. And did a lot of reflecting, and they told me the type of cancer I had was highly likely to recur. Great news. So I just wanted to throw everything at it that I could. I saw loads of healers. I saw nutritionists. I did all sorts of therapies, but also I realised I had to manage my stress. That was a big one. And then the more I learned, and I was sharing with people, I'm thinking, the NHS in England, we're very lucky. They're great at the medical thing. But when you finish your treatment, you're chucked off at the end like, there you go, back to your old life. And I was finding my old life didn't work for me. It didn't support me in the way that I wanted. So I trained to be a coach. A long story short, trained to be a coach for my own benefit initially because I wanted to change the way that I was living. I wanted to change my habits that I thought I couldn't change. And I studied nutrition. And the more I learned, the more I think people need to know this information. That's one of the reasons I started my podcast. And I struggled a little bit at first. I'm putting myself out on social media. And I did have a bit of imposter syndrome, thinking, well, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a nurse, but I've got experience and I've got empathy for people who not all our journeys are unique. Yes. Everybody's circumstances are unique, but I've got a lot of experience that can help other people. And so now it's my pleasure to share that with people. And when people are feeling, as I did, I felt lost and alone. I felt very guilty for feeling so depressed after my treatment had finished because I'd had so much support, medical and emotional, from my friends and family. And I couldn't understand why I wasn't happy. And it took me a while to work through that. And that's why I coach people now to think, all right, these are the shortcuts. These are the things that you can do. These are the things that you can focus on. These are the tools and techniques and strategies that work for me and work for other people. And I never tell people what they should do, but I'm a coach and I coach them through finding their own way. Yeah. It's a wellness.
It's fabulous. I mean, I think there are parts of that story that all of us can resonate with, particularly, I think, females, the stress levels, the being there for everyone else, whether it's your personal life, your work life. But, it does take its toll. And I was reading an interesting article, and I can't remember where it was now, but it was about stress and when you have stress, it releases the toxin into your body, and that toxin is actually poisonous. And our bodies deal with it. But there is science that says that toxin reduces our lifespan and brings on illnesses and things. So that's a really interesting point that you brought up there, that you sort of then post having getting your cancer, you thought, okay, so what happened? What brought this on? So then obviously you propelled into the coaching mode. How did you get coached first before you qualified as a coach?
Yeah, absolutely. And I still have a coach now. I have two coaches actually that are coaching me different ways. And I think it's really important because I got a lot out of coaching. And as I was going through my training, I was coaching other people and I was seeing the results that they were getting. But, none of us are perfect. I'm not saying I'm perfect. I'm learning a lot and I'm really invested, obviously, in my own self-development. And I love it. I love learning new things. The more I've just tried to be a better person. I'm not above anyone else. I'm not below anyone else. I'm trying to be better than the person I was yesterday. That's the way my journey is now. It's unfolding. I love learning new things. A coach, sometimes, we all have bad habits. I'm terrible at procrastinating. I'll commit to things. Sometimes I overcommit. I'm still trying to catch myself doing that. So a coach keeps me accountable. So for me, it's really useful. And to get that different perspective as well. A coach is so useful for me.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So do you have, I mean, I have two coaches as well, so similar to you. So I've got my business coach and then I've got my personal coach. Is that sort of the same for you?
Same.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So business coaches, I was saying to you before about, I love coaching. I love the process of coaching, of working with a client and seeing them develop and seeing them start to believe in themselves. Absolutely love that. But clients just don't turn up on your doorstep. So the whole marketing, the social media, setting up a website, all the techies, I'm not a techie person. All that kind of thing is new to me and it's not something that comes easily to me. So I need a coach to help me with that. And then my personal coach is about my own personal self-development. And it's a little bit more woo-woo because that's, how I am, a bit more spiritual. We talk about abundance. We talk about law of attraction. We talk about the energies. I've studied in Reiki as well. I'm a Reiki master. Not that I practice that, but and I've done feng shui, which is all about energy in your home. So that side of things is covered by my other coach, and it's quite a beauty. And it's I was going to say it's an indulgence, but it's not. It's actually something for me. And like you just said before, women struggle with that. And I struggled with it for a long time. I've read tons of books and I've seen lot of healers. One of the most profound books that I read was Louise Hay's You Can Heal Your Life. And she talks a lot about we manifest illness because of what's going on in our thoughts. And she talks a lot about self-love. And that was something I struggled with. I thought for a long time, I had a difficult childhood. I wasn't in a stable family. And for a long time, I made that mean to me there was something wrong with me. And so when I started reading Louise Hay's book about self-love, and I realised a lot of people don't even like themselves, never mind love themselves. So that's been a real life changer for me, working with people that use Louise Hay's methods. I know a couple of people actually that are Heal Your Life certified trainers, and I follow them on social media because it's all very positive and uplifting, and it is about, like you say, women taking some time for yourself. Stop putting everyone else first.
Why do you think as women we do that? Because I think men less likely to do that.
I'm laughing because I love my husband very much, but if he has a day off, he has a day off. He'll watch a film or he'll potter around the house. I have a day off and I've got a list. Of right. These are all things I need to do.
Absolutely.
But nobody's made me. I make myself do that. And I think a lot of it is social conditioning. Probably as a little girl, I saw my mum, worry about the housework, worry about what the meals were going to be on the table, do the food shopping. She had a big to-do list. Even when she wasn't working in an outside job, she had a massive to-do list. And a lot of us see fathers, or my stepfather, go to work, come home, put his feet up. And I see, and we were talking to somebody about Christmas Day of all things. And she said, in my family, all the men go to the pub and all the women go in the kitchen. And it's a generational thing. All these subliminal messages are, you're a woman, particularly if you're a mother as well. You're a woman, it's your job to look after other people. And I get that when you've got a small baby, absolutely. But, my sons are taller than me now. They're walking, they're big men. I don't need to put them first
No,
anymore, you
yeah,
know.
yeah.
Although
But it's really hard
I
to
still think about
change,
it.
isn't it, to do that? I mean, I'm not a
Yeah,
mum, I'm a
yeah.
stepmom. But I've been
Mm.
in their lives from there when they were very young. And when they're here, they sort of take priority. And like you say, one's 24, one's 26, I think, yeah, 27 actually. And one's got a baby. I mean, it's like, why am I, like, when they come to me, I'm running around after them. But actually, they're quite able to do it themselves, It's,
Absolutely, yeah. We find ourselves. I'm like apologising if the right things are not in the
I
fridge when they
know,
rock up
but they
unannounced.
don't live
Like, hello. Yeah.
Oh, it's fabulous. It is. We are so good at that. We really are. But that's, I mean,
Yeah.
the thing is, we all have our positive points. We all have our negative, like not negative, but the things that we don't do so well. And I think if I get from you, and I think you'd agree, that actually having the coach is to see your blind spots.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And sometimes, it's not a confrontation or a challenging thing. It's just a reflection. Oh, that's interesting. And a good, I'm trying to do is when I coach people is just to get curious about, that's interesting. Why did you do that? Or why do you think you reacted in that way? I'm not here to point out somebody's weak spot saying, oh, look at you. You're a bit crap at that, aren't you?
No,
I would never
no.
do that, But what I would do is reflect on, oh, but you said you wanted to do this and then you didn't do it. So what got in the way? What is it? And exploring, the habits, a lot of it's subconscious. We do things all the time without really realizing why we're doing it or how we're doing it. And for years, I thought I have to do such a thing, I have to, whatever. I have to have a clean house. Who says, I have to, whatever the things are. When I was a senior manager at work, I had this unwritten rule. I had to be first one in the office. Nobody told me that. I put that on myself. Yeah.
And that's what we do, is we put things on ourselves. Absolutely. So going back, obviously, I'll take you back a little bit, because I remember when we had our interview and we were talking about body confidence at that point. And I remember you saying that you'd had so much support, like you said earlier, through your mastectomy and through your, the reconstruction and everything. But they never actually, I remember you saying this, and it was quite shocked to me. They never actually said to you, you know what, you don't have to have a reconstruction surgery. You can actually just learn to accept who you are. And yeah, I just would like a little bit more. Tell the listeners a little bit more about that particular time.
Yeah, and it is almost 16 years ago now. So I went through that process. So, the longer it goes on, the more I can be objective and less emotional about it. But obviously, as a woman, losing your breast it was absolutely devastating when they told me I had to have a mastectomy. And some women I know challenge that and would refuse to have one. But at the time, I was just, like I say, I was throwing everything at this. I was desperate not to get ill again. I was desperate to recover. So I was very much guided by the medics, thinking, they're the experts, they know. So it was that mental sort of torture, because I had the chemotherapy first to shrink the tumour, and then they said it's completely gone. And I was like, oh, great, happy days, don't have to mastectomy then. And then, no, you should have it to stop it coming back. So I was told I was cancer-free. Yay! But you still got to have a mastectomy. Oh, okay. So all these emotions are all over the place, you can imagine. And then it was just getting through, the physical, going through, it's a big operation, going through that, and the mental anguish that went with that as well. And then trying to recover and trying to look after the people around me to reassure my husband and my sons that, I'm fine. When I wasn't fine, I was absolutely devastated, physically as well. A few technical things went wrong afterwards. And so it was backwards and forwards to the hospital, getting that sorted out. And then it just, the exhaustion as well, the mental exhaustion of going through chemotherapy and then the mastectomy. And they always say, don't they, you should never make a big decision when you're stressed. And then you're going through this treatment and you've got big decisions to make, and you can't escape. Yeah. So it's just exhausting. And that's again what I find with speaking to other people that have been through it. When I was going through, actually, it's interesting, when I first got diagnosed, a good friend of mine said, oh, I've got this friend and you need to speak to her. She's brilliant. And I thought, let's speak to some random woman I don't even know. Anyway, finally spoke to her. I rang her. We were on the phone for an hour. And then she came round to my house lifted up, so look at my reconstruction, and showed me what it was in my kitchen. I was like, oh, okay, I don't know you. Thanks for sharing. So, I feel like I'm going around in a circle and not giving you a straight answer. It's just a total mess with your head.
I was going to say, but then I was thinking, so you got into coaching because of the cancer, or definitely, yeah.
But to be fair, I was really interested in self-development before I got ill. I'd studied NLP, I'd done NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, like that changing behaviours, way, a few years before I'd done a practitioner course in that. To be fair, when I got made redundant, and that was another big event in my life, because I was so invested in the job that I had. My identity was all about being a director in this big company. I thought, I've cracked it. This is me, from going from a child that was in care, a child that nobody cared about, care, but I was in council care, nobody cared, to at the age of 39 being a director of a big company. Suss this out, crack this. And then I got made redundant. And that was a huge shock for me. And I was really thinking, well, what did I like about my working life? Did I like working in finance? Not so much, but I loved managing a team. I loved coaching my team. And it was business coaching, but it was a lot of personal. It was a lot of confidence coaching as well, working with people who didn't believe in themselves and giving them a task and seeing them achieve that. I loved, so informally, I'd been coaching people in a business setting for years. So I was always interested in that. So when I went through my cancer treatment, it didn't sort of click at first, but I was reaching out to other people, like the lady that came round to my house. I mean, she wasn't a coach, but she was giving me her advice, sharing her experience, telling me what worked for her. And then I did the same with a nutritionist. I was reaching out to other people, and I was grabbing all this information and bringing it back and thinking, I'm getting all this knowledge and building it up to something. What can I do with this knowledge? How can I share it with people? And that's why I thought, did anyone else? And so many people have said, I felt alone. I felt there was something wrong with me. I thought I was going crackers. I thought I was absolutely losing my mind, because I'm thinking everyone was saying, oh, well done, you've beaten cancer. And that for a lot of people is the lowest time. And they finished the treatment. And I remember, I know Trisha Goddard has been in the news recently because I can't come back. But I remember reading something she'd written years ago, and she had breast cancer. And so when you've got breast cancer, you get chocolates and flowers and everyone comes round but then she had real severe depression afterwards. And she said, and my friends fell away. Nobody knows how to handle depression or anxiety or any sort of mental health. She had felt very alone. She said that was much worse than having cancer.
Yes. I sort of get that, actually, because like you say, that the diagnosis of getting an all clear and then having to have more work done, and then you're literally like thrown out, and it's like, okay, so what do I do now? And like you say, your old life isn't your life anymore because you've been through so much. It's changed you as a person as well. Do you find with your coaching, so is your coaching, obviously you're helping others who've been in similar situations to you, and everyone's story is unique, but do you find you also get lots from them as well for you, as in, with helping you carry on with where you are?
Definitely. Kind of, when I see a result, because sometimes with coaching, you probably know you've got a lot of tips and tools and strategies, and some will sit really well with people, and others will be about, I didn't really get that. And when you see somebody use something that you've suggested, again, I never tell people what to do, but when you've led them down a session, and then you see a change in their behavior, that's priceless. That's just like so rewarding. And again, comparing that to my corporate life, when you hit a target, oh great, and all the big bosses are really happy, the company's made some more money, great, and that kind of thing leaves me cold now. And it's more about, I see so many people struggling, and not just with cancer, but in general life. I think in the pandemic, I do think we are in the middle of a mental health crisis. It's all around us. I know so many people that are touched. If it's not them directly, it's somebody in their family or somebody in their circle that's touched by mental health, by depression, by anxiety. And there is a huge need for it. And I think, hopefully things are turning now where it is more acceptable to talk about things, and it is more acceptable to ask for help, because I think particularly men are notoriously bad at asking for help. for women as well, we like I say, you think oh, I'm the mother, or I'm the manager, or I'm the whatever role you're wearing that day. It's my job to carry on, and I can't fall apart, because if I fall apart, who's going to put the tea on the table? Yeah.
But that's our problem, isn't it? That is our problem. We think more about, okay, so if I fall apart, who's going to pick up this? Who's going to do that? Who's going to do that? And I think for males, working in the industry I'm working at the moment, I know that male suicide is at its highest at this moment in time. And I think that's because they think differently to us. So we're thinking about everyone else that relies on us, and they're just generally, with them, it's just all too overwhelming. And I think sometimes in the world we live in, and yes, there's so much to be said for equality and everything, but I think sometimes men feel that they've lost their role. They've been brought up in probably a society like us, with mothers who did everything, and we copied that. They've probably been brought up in a role where, the man has to be the breadwinner, he has to be successful. And if he's not got all of this stuff, and I call it stuff because it's not the true stuff, then he's not successful. And they struggle with that kind of thing. I think it's a sort of slightly different mindset to us. And they don't know how to get help. And I think, like, you're probably right, there's probably... it's much harder for them to reach out and say, look, I've got a problem, and that's really, really sad. It's such a sad sort of space that we live in, this world where actually there's a lot of good comes out of all new technology and things, but there's also some really bad and not so good things that have come out of how we've evolved in life. So
I agree. I've got grandchildren. Sorry, going on that point. I've got a grandson, and I do think, worry about him and his mental health. And he's only 8, but as he grows up, and the influence of social media that we didn't have as thank goodness we didn't have as children, where you see these sometimes really unattainable standards, or these images that you see that people think that's what I want to be. I want to look like that woman on Love Island or whatever it is. I don't watch reality TV, but they see these unattainable things, and then if they're not looking like that, or they haven't got those things, feeling that's something wrong with them.
And also they're pumping. I mean, there's this sort of culture of putting stuff into our bodies to enhance things, but do we know the long-term effects? And if not, if we can get illnesses just naturally through either diet or stress or hereditary, what we're putting into our bodies, is that going to make us have illnesses as well? Is that we just don't know these things, and it feels like we live in a world where we're never satisfied. Nothing is ever enough. Where we aren't ever enough, and that is contributing to serious mental health issues. So I totally and utterly agree with you on that situation. So if you were giving, coaching, we know has really helped us. It's definitely helped me, and I know it's helped you. If you were giving any piece of advice to maybe a coach thinking of training on coming on board, what would be sort of your nuggets of advice? Because I think in the coaching world, if you don't have coaches or people in the coaching world that keep you sane, you know what I mean, because we have our down times as well, don't we? We have when we think nobody's listening, or nobody understands what I'm saying, or you got friends around you that are friends but they don't get what you're doing. So what sort of key bits of advice would you give any up and coming coaches?
I think one of the biggest mistakes I've made in the past, I've worked with a few different coaches who promised me a lot of stuff, paid a lot of money for their courses, and thinking, this sounds amazing, I'm going to do exactly what they say and I'm going to be successful like them, and it's not worked out. And I think if you're going to work with somebody, be very selective, be quite discerning, and spend some time thinking about the person that you're working with. Don't just work with a coach or somebody who promises to give you a great system that's going to make you a lot of money or whatever. That's not the answer. It's work with somebody whose values align with yours. Now, it may be that you want to earn a lot of money, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, but think about why you want to do the coaching. What is it you want to do? For me, it was like, I've got all this information. I've got 16 years worth of information and knowledge and all the training and everything that I'm always doing and learning. I want to share it with people. So I want to put it in a format that's accessible to people and put it out there. That's the reason that I wanted to do it. And yes, for myself, I wanted to, on the other side, personal reasons was I wanted to get away from corporate life. Corporate life for me is great. It's great for some people. They're on their career path and they know where they're going and that works for them. Not for me anymore. And so again, it was getting in touch with my values and working out what's important to me. I don't want somebody else telling me when I can clock on and clock off. I don't want somebody else telling me I can 25 days holiday a year. That doesn't work for me. I want much more holidays than that. Yeah. So think about what's important to you as a coach. What is it that you want to do? And if they say if you speak to everybody, you're speaking to no one. So I've had so many people say, don't try and be general, because I'm a confidence coach. That's what I do. And a lot of people want confidence, but I can't put myself out there and market myself as, well, I could, but I've been told it would not be so successful to say, well, I'm a confidence coach. I can help you if you've got this problem or that problem. Actually, I'm saying, look, this is me, my experience. If any of this resonates with you, I'm your woman because I've been there. I can hold your hand. I can show you my path and I can help you get to where you want to be with your health and your happiness and whatever else is the goals that you've got. Well, I think it's about just understanding why it's important to you to do the coaching and what it is, because it's not an easy thing to do. Like you say, some people, they mean well, but I don't really get what you do. And that's another thing I'd say is find a community of people who are supportive of what you want to do. Not just going to, agree with everything and tell you that you're wonderful. Yeah. But a nice supportive group, like people like yourself, Belinda, I've recently found a networking group local to me that's very, very full of supportive women. It doesn't necessarily have to be a women's group, but this is a group of women who, a lot of self-employed people, they understand, I'm picking up tips from them about marketing, which is, it's not my strong area. I've never been a marketing person. My background was finance. And so I'm learning from them what works and what doesn't work. So that support can be invaluable because if you're self-employed, which most coaches are, it can be quite lonely. And although it's, it's great to be able to work from home and just plug in your phone or your laptop, I miss that sense of community that I've got. That is one of the things that I got from my job was a sense of community. And so, a community of coaches is a great thing to have.
This is why we sort of created the podcast that we're doing, because we want it to be a community place. We want it to be an honest place, not negative, because coaching isn't negative. In its essence, it's not negative. But it is just being aware of the pitfalls, isn't it? And it is also, like you said, and I think you're right, you start off on the journey and you're all super excited and you're hyped and everything. And then the reality of all the things that you have to do, because you don't just rock up to a coaching session as much as we would love to. I think that dawns on you. It can get overwhelming. So having that network of people that are in the similar sort of realm who understand what you're going through is great. They don't need to understand your coaching niche. They just need to understand. Yeah, absolutely. And I also think, some people might shoot me down for this, but I absolutely believe if you're coaching something that you are passionate about, it shows in your work.
Yeah, big time. Absolutely big time. And as I say, I've worked with coaches before and I really got the impression they just wanted the money in the bank. They didn't really care what the results were. They just, here's my course. This is what you need to do. Off you go. Whereas I am passionate about the people that I work with. I get really invested in them. And sometimes it can be quite emotionally draining. I'd have to make space for that as well. I can't do back-to-back clients because some of the stuff they share is some really devastating stories, but some very uplifting stories. It's not all heavy stuff. Even when we talk about cancer, we do have a laugh, and we find some humour. A lady told me yesterday, we were talking about mastectomies, and she said she'd been for some treatment, and she had a nurse whose first language wasn't English, and nothing against that, but she said her language wasn't particularly soft and supportive. She went, "Oh, now you are disfigured," is what she said to this lady. And we were laughing. Thank God she was laughing. But she was saying, this nurse told me I was disfigured. My God. So as somebody who's been through a mastectomy, we can laugh about that, and we can.
That's why if it's right at that time and that point, that could be really that could infiltrates something into your head that sticks with you, and then totally
Absolutely.
changes the way you're viewing your treatment and stuff. So yeah, words are so much more powerful than we realize. And the one thing about coaching is the power of the questions that we ask. And they could be the simplest, they feel like the simplest things, but actually to hold space for someone to actually really think about that question rather than the first thing that comes off, it's usually what's underneath that's more important, isn't it?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Not just taking that first answer at face value, but like you say, holding space. And I, at first, when I was coaching, because I was so desperate to give people good value for their sessions, I didn't like a silence. And I was like, oh, right, I need to ask the next. I'm thinking, no, let that question, let that answer, just sit for a minute and think, really, that and again, being curious, that's interesting. Why do you think that was? And then sometimes it's like peeling the layers of an onion. Why did that happen? Oh, that's interesting. Why do you think that happened? And then some random memory will come up from years ago. And again, our subconscious mind is sometimes a wonderful thing to work with, because we all have stuff from childhood, from years ago, from an insult that somebody said 30 years ago that's still in there. And we all do it.
Like we don't even realise it's in there till the question's asked, do we? And then we go, oh my God, Jesus, am I still thinking about that? That was like 30 years ago. I was like, yeah, you're right.
Where did that come from? Yeah. And just holding it up and saying, is that true? No, probably not true. No, actually, I know it's not true. Well, let's let that go then, and let's replace that with a more helpful thought, or a more helpful suggestion for yourself. So yeah, it's fascinating work, and I get a lot from it personally. Absolutely. I just love seeing people blossom. Yeah, it's so rewarding. Yeah.
And just sort of one final thing, I think, because obviously the channel, the Naked Coach Collective, is not just for coaches. It's for people who are looking to be coached, to understand what coaching is. So if someone was looking for a coach, what sort of some of the steps would you suggest that they do to find the right coach?
Oh, interesting question. Again, I think it's similar to the question you asked before. It's about finding somebody who you can relate to. Do you want somebody who's like a skinny blonde woman, and in a Californian beach, who's like, look at me in my perfect lifestyle? If that's what you aspire to, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that.
Yeah.
But I am very much, I'm a northern woman. I'm 60 years old. I'm a grandmother. This is who I am. And if you can resonate with that, then we might be able to work together. I'm not pretending to be something that I'm not. So I would say, look for, authenticity, just somebody who is not giving you this big, I know I see it in so many things online of fake it till you make it. And I just think, no. People can spot that a mile off. They know if you're lying. They know if you're giving them loads of BS. You don't need to do that. If you're having a tough time, share it. I mean, like you say, but coaches, we want to focus on the positive. My life is not sunshine and roses 24/7. It's far from it. But, that I try and put that in its place now. I've had some difficult family things over the last year, and it's been a learning experience, and it's been a healing experience. And I had to really sort of catch myself and think, I thought I'd worked through a lot of stuff, but actually that I've had my buttons pressed. I'm still learning, but I'm using that now. And think, well, what got me through that? What are the tools? What worked for me? It wasn't just, a bottle of wine every night. There was something else that you did. Yeah. That might have done that for a while, but now there's things that you've done. So if somebody else is in that similar situation, and I can't tell you, I spoke to a lady recently. She told me this story and a thing that had happened in her family, and I was like, I could have written what you just said. That is exactly what happened to me. And it doesn't mean I know what she's going through, because we're all different, but I can relate. I can relate to this lady beating herself up, thinking, how has this happened with my family? How have I allowed it to happen? What is wrong with me, is what she was telling herself. I must be a bad mother. I must be a bad person because this thing has happened to me. And we all have challenges, and we all work through them. But I think I've gone off a bit of your original question.
Don't worry, Gabby, it's fine. I think the one thing I like into coaching too, and I was thinking about this the other day, it's like anything that you do new, whether it's reading, whether it's learning to dance, whether it's learning to sing, the more you do it, the more you grow, the more you learn. And I think coaching is exactly the same. It's not one of those things that you go, okay, so I'm going to have a 12-week coaching course and then I'm going to be fixed for life. Okay. It doesn't work like that, does it?
No, it's totally.
Loads of fantastic tools to actually apply to your life. but there's always room to keep going, to be, whether it's after, having your coaching and you join, I don't know, a group, you join a group to have that ongoing, what is it, check-in, support, that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
But the thing is, you learn from everything you do. And I think one of the sort of negative things we can do is stop wanting to learn. Like we said, I'm not a techie person, but we can learn it. As frustrating as it might be sometimes, we can actually learn it. So I think that's one thing I sort of liken coaching to. There are going to be listeners out there who have gone through cancer, different types of cancer, and they'll be coming out the other side, or they'll be going through it. So just give a little bit to them about what you offer, what your sort of business model is, and what you offer those people.
Sure. So on my website, confidenceaftercancer.co.uk, there's some free resources. I've got 7 steps to confidence. You can download that. I've also, you talked before about, the environment that we're living in. And I am very big on toxins, what you can do to reduce your toxic overload. I think a lot of us think that processed food and putting chemicals all over your body, we think about your personal care products, all that. I'm not, completely clean, if you like, with my products. I like them, but I'm very conscious now about good skincare, good makeup, not putting too many chemicals into my body. I'm very conscious now about cooking from scratch when I can, not 100%, but when I can. I don't use things out of a packet. I'm careful about the food that I eat and stuff. So I share information like that as well. So I've got free downloads about that. I've also got a 12-week program that you can download and work through at your own pace. And it's got recordings of me. So that's like a lower cost option for people that want some coaching and they want some direction and they want, well, actually, I'm coming out of cancer treatment now. What are the things that I can work on? So it's about body image. It's about nutrition. It's about happiness. It's about how to exercise if you don't enjoy exercising, which is so common. And I'm not going to tell people to become a marathon runner if you don't like running, There's a lot of suggestions. So there's lots of stuff that people can download. The other thing is people can work one-to-one with me if you prefer that. We can get a Zoom session like this. I prefer, ideally it's 6 months. I think once a fortnight is a good amount of time to work with somebody. If they've got, depends what the goals are, and there's no prescriptive thing. My first session would be with somebody. What do you want? What do you want to get out of it? What are you trying to achieve? Like I say, if they want to run a marathon and they've never run anything, run a day in their life, that might maybe not so achievable. But it's, what are your goals? How can I help you? Because I'm here to serve you, and also seeing if we're a good fit for each other. Because it's a personal thing. It's a very personal thing. They're going to share a lot of very personal stuff, very confidential stuff. I would never break a confidence. I'd sometimes say, "Oh, such a lady told me about," like the lady I just told. I never divulge her. There's always confidentiality, but also, do you feel comfortable with each other? Because some people say, "Oh yeah, I'd like to do coaching," but they don't really want coaching. They want somebody to tell them that there's nothing wrong with them and they don't need to change what they're doing. And that's fine if that's how you feel, but don't go to a coach if you don't want to change.
I always think it's don't go to a coach if you don't want to get a bit uncomfortable either, because you have to get a bit uncomfortable, because we're going to ask you things that nobody else will ask you, because they're not a coach and they don't maybe have the courage to ask you, I think is the word.
Yeah.
So, totally agree with that. Yeah.
Absolutely. I'm going to have a contract where I am going to ask, and you might think sometimes that's a bit of a strange question. I told you the answer to that. And I might actually, again, what does that mean? And what does that mean? Let's go deeper sometimes. And some of those things are uncomfortable. And you've got to be comfortable with getting uncomfortable. And I did, when I was doing my training, I coached somebody. I didn't know her, but she was part of the organisation that was part. And I was like, well, why do you want some coaching? And she'd been for a promotion and didn't get it. And her boss had suggested that she got some coaching. She had no desire to change anything that she was doing. She thought it was everyone else was the problem, not her. And she only wanted coaching because her boss had told her, if you'd have some coaching, you might get that promotion next time. Yeah, that's not a great reason. That's not a great motivation.
No, absolutely not. I think the other thing is, I think about, when we were talking about finding a coach authenticity, if you go on a call with a coach, it's not just you checking out whether you can work with them. if you're an authentic coach, I always think, can I work with this person? Can I make a difference? Am I resonating with them? Do I feel comfortable with them? And there are times when I might say to somebody, do you know what? You're not ready to be coached.
I've done that. I've absolutely done that. Yeah. If somebody's not ready, and like I say, they don't see the need to change, or if they think it's everybody else that's wrong or not them. And I'm not here to judge anybody. I'm just saying you're not ready for coaching. You might need mentoring. You might need some business training. You might need some different kind of support. Some people actually as well, we're talking about mental health and depression. If somebody's clinically depressed, they need a clinician, not me. They don't need a coach. They need a medical expert who's going to help them get through that. And it might be, they need whatever they need. They might need drugs, whatever. That's not my bag. But I can work with people like me, mild depression that comes and goes. I've been through that. I say mild, sometimes quite debilitating, but I've had anxiety and that comes and goes. And I have had medical attention in the past. But now, when that's been ongoing for a long time, I've got so much that I can treat myself now and I can help other people with.
And that just sounds fabulous. It really does. And it's been absolutely lovely having you on the show. And I know there'll be people out there that will totally and utterly resonate with you. And, here's to authentic coaches, Gabby. We're here for a reason, like you said, it's a passion, it's a vocation, it's we get as much out of it and we give huge value to our clients. And so, if you want to get in touch with Gabby, all her details will be underneath the podcast. And more importantly, I'm sure we'll have you back on at some point, Gabby. That would be great.
Oh, that'd be lovely. I really enjoyed talking to you, Belinda. It's always a pleasure.
Keep going. Honestly, I know how hard it gets, and I'm always here if you ever need a chat or a reach out, or we contact. That's the great thing about coaching. How many people do you make connections with? It's fabulous, isn't it? Yeah.
It is. And like I say, sometimes I say to people, I don't know everything, but if I don't know the answer to your question, I better know somebody who does, because I know so many fabulous coaches.
That is the other thing. Yeah. I mean, I've recommended other coaches when I felt that it hasn't been like something that I can sort of totally help in. So, that is the great thing about us. Absolutely. Okay, so I'm going to wrap it up there, and I hope you all enjoyed this episode. I certainly did, and so much great information, brilliant words and nuggets that you can take away for whether you're going to be a coach or you're thinking about becoming a coach or whether you're looking for a coach. So have an absolutely fabulous rest of the day, and I will be back on again soon. So thank you for listening to the Naked Coach Collective, and thank you, Gabby.
Thanks, Belinda. Thank you. Bye-bye.